These trees near Mount Gambier are dying because of the lack of rain over the past year and a half.
Anyone working in primary industries would know this has been one of the driest seasons on record.
It takes about 30 years for trees like these to reach maturity, but even 1 year of drought can have a big effect on how much timber is produced from them.
What that means for trees is that some trees will suffer, some will die, and some will reduce their growth rate for a period of time.
However, timber quality is not expected to be reduced.
Once the timber is processed, it will go to the mills, and the way we have our grading system set up, we grade for strength. So we're testing that wood all the time, so every board is tested. So it shouldn't affect the quality of what comes out, it will just affect the volume that we get.
The Premier announced a $55 million drought assistance package for farmers on Tuesday, but the forestry industry says it isn't asking for money or more water as part of a review into allocations being conducted right now. It just doesn't want the effects on its industry to be forgotten.
We have invested more than $21 million into forestry in the southeast since coming to government 3 years ago. We appreciate how important the forestry sector is.
Builders say wood supply isn't a concern for now, but it's important Australia continues to produce its own timber.
The moon, interestingly, looks a little smaller this weekend, and that is because it's a micro moon, which happens when the full moon is at its furthest point from planet Earth, called apogee. This moon, the moon looks about 10% smaller and dimmer than usual. Now, astrophysicists say this is the opposite of the supermoon that looks bigger and brighter when the moon is at its closest distance to the Earth. Micromoons and supermoons occur a few times a year, and this one lights up the night on Saturday.
When the moon then continues its orbit around Earth, it reaches a point called apogee where it is the farthest away from Earth. So consequently, in the night sky as a full moon, the moon would be smaller in size.
And yes, another micromoon is also coming up in the month of May, followed by 3 supermoons in October, November and December. And this full moon also carries a religious significance across faiths. Now, for Hindus, it marks the Hanuman Jayanti, celebrating the birth of Lord Hanuman. For Buddhists, it's called Bak Poya, commemorating Buddha's peace mission to Sri Lanka. In Christianity, this is the Paschal moon, used to calculate the date of Easter. In Punjab and northern India, this is a time for harvest and new beginnings. Baisakhi, celebrated on the 13th and the 14th of April, marks the Sikh New Year and the birth of the Khalsa in 1699. So whether you're looking up for the moon or considering faith and festivity, this weekend promises a spectacle in both sky and also in spirit.
Come Monday, 200 General Motors employees will be out of a job. The company says it's temporarily laying off workers at its all-electric Factory Zero in Detroit so it can adjust production to align with market dynamics. GM says the move does not have anything to do with President Trump's recently imposed auto tariffs. GM says the factory employs more than 4,500 workers. The announcement comes just a week after General Motors said it plans to add up to 250 temporary workers to maximize production of light-duty trucks at its Fort Wayne, Indiana assembly plant. The move is related to President Trump's tariffs as the auto industry addresses challenges tied to them. In the first quarter of 2025, GM nearly doubled its EV sales year over year. However, EV sales have still missed industry expectations, a byproduct of consumer hesitation over affordability, range anxiety, charging speeds, and access to charging stations. With President Trump pausing federal funding for charging stations, directing his administration to reevaluate electric vehicle subsidies, those concerns have only gotten stronger.
In a significant move, the Donald Trump administration in the United States, interestingly, has now chosen to exempt smartphones, computers and other electronic devices from its reciprocal tariff game. The exclusion was published late on Friday by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The exclusions will apply to smartphones, laptop computers, hard drives and computer processors and memory chips. In effect, these products are excluded from Trump's 145% China tariff and his baseline 10% global tariff on nearly all other countries. Now, these popular consumer electronics items are not generally made in the US, and setting up domestic manufacturing will take years. The decision will benefit electronics giants including Apple and Samsung. The Trump's new tariffs will also not affect machines that are used to make semiconductors, and this is important for the chip makers like the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing that has announced major new investments in the US. The current exclusion is a sign that the products may soon be subject to a different tariff, expectedly a low one for China.
Major world's largest shipping nations decided on Friday to impose a minimum tax of $100 for every ton of carbon dioxide emitted by ships if their planet-hitting emissions are not already accounted for.
Is the right result, is a good result for the organization. Takes us to one step closer to finalizing the first global mandatory measures when it comes to decarbonization, including a pricing mechanism. And that's what I reiterate my optimism. The fee will be charged if nations have not contributed enough to the International Maritime Organization's Net Zero Fund and the ships are not emitting their compliance targets. These agreements, we're the first one that get on that agreement on a pricing mechanism on emissions at the international global stage. And it's just want to keep calling that rather than just looking and finding ways to trying, and I'm going to say trying because no one is going to bring us down, IMO into how short we fall. It's good that every now and then it's recognized how actually we good are at achieving what sometimes people think that is impossible for us. One major issue during the meetings was the way a tax will be charged. More than 60 countries entered the negotiations pushing for a simple tax charge per metric ton of emissions.
The British Parliament held a rare recall sitting on Saturday to pass the emergency legislation aimed at rescuing the nation's last remaining steel factory that produces steel directly from the raw materials. The focus is the British steel plant in Scunthorpe that is joined by China's Jingye Group. Currently, the company employs nearly 3,500 workers. The company says that it's losing an estimated £700,000 every day and now plans to shut down its blast furnaces immediately. Previously, Prime Minister Keir Starmer had announced his government's plans to take control of the plant to prevent a collapse of UK's steel-making capacity. The Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds confirmed that the government is exploring state ownership, potentially through a co-investment partnership with the private sector.
I want to be clear that a transfer of ownership to the state remains on the table, and it may well, at this stage, given the behaviour of the company, be the likely option. But also, our aspirations for British Steel remain a co-investment agreement with a private sector partner to secure that long-term transformation.
Meanwhile, the Reform UK MP Richard Tice has supported the emergency law but is urging the government to go further and to fully nationalise British Steel.
My only concern is that they're going to do half a job today. We'll be supporting them, but we'd like them to do a full job, fully nationalise British Steel, grasp the opportunity, create a long-term plan, look at growing it with, for example, the 2 electric arc furnaces lying idle at Rotherham, and that would be the right thing to do. So we're going to say, this is better than nothing, to save thousands of jobs, but actually we could go a lot further, nationalise it fully this weekend and crack on.
The British Steel was already struggling in an oversupplied global market before it was hit by higher energy costs in recent years. The US tariffs of 25% on all imports of steel delivered another blow.
Palestinians in Gaza City once again face displacement after the Israeli army issued orders to evacuate ahead of military operations targeting Hamas. Many face the choice of choosing to stay despite the danger of yet again being forced from their homes. I've been displaced over 15 times now. One time I was displaced 3 times in one night. What did we do in this world for this to happen to us? We are all civilians, all our women and children fleeing. Where do we go? There is no space. Please have mercy on us. We've been displaced 1 billion many times and we don't know where to go. Nearly 400,000 have been displaced following renewed Israeli assault, said the United Nations. Israel embarked on a major bombing campaign of Gaza after the ceasefire with Hamas collapsed last month. They are seizing territory in what they say is an attempt to compel Hamas to release more hostages.
When a Chinese flotilla circled the Australian continent earlier this year, defense officials took notice. The group included a destroyer, a frigate, a support vessel, and possibly a nuclear-powered submarine. In response, the Royal Australian Navy launched one of its most extensive undersea warfare exercises in recent years. That patrol renewed concerns about undersea threats. In response, the Royal Australian Navy deployed 4 of Australia's 7 Anzac-class frigates for anti-submarine warfare drills. Surface ships, naval helicopters, and patrol planes from New Zealand also joined in. The drills focused on tracking submarines, live-fire training, and maneuvering in contested waters. The goal was to sharpen submarine hunting tactics and improve coordination across a large integrated naval task group. The Navy says the exercise also prepared crews for future operations aboard next-generation Hunter-class frigates. Anzac-class ships leading the exercise use sonar, advanced radar, and combat systems to spot and engage threats below the surface. They carry torpedoes, anti-ship missiles, and defensive decoy systems. Officials say these exercises are critical to protecting the sea lines of communication that carry most of Australia's imports and exports. The country's economy depends heavily on open maritime trade, and access to ports and defense planners are prioritizing undersea warfare as a key layer of deterrence. The operation also reflects Australia's growing role in Indo-Pacific security. As a member of the U.S.-aligned Quad and Five Eyes intelligence group, Australia is investing in joint readiness with regional partners to counter what officials describe as coercive tactics by China, including far seas deployments and expanded submarine operations. With China now operating the world's largest navy by ship count, including nuclear-powered submarines, military analysts say undersea defense will remain central to Australia's maritime strategy in the years ahead.
Massive protests on Friday in South Africa's Pretoria against gender-based violence after the rape of a 7-year-old girl. Reigning Miss South Africa Mia Leroux was among those who attended the protest and called on the government to do more to fight against gender-based violence in the country.
Our sisters deserve better, our women deserve better. We are hearing too many stories of our sisters being hurt, and I want our leaders to recognize that this is really a national disaster. Because once our leaders recognize this problem, we will feel safer, we will feel we can start working towards solutions to help make this a safer space for all of us.
The protesters have called on the South African government to declare gender-based violence a national crisis and impose the harshest sentences on those convicted of related crimes.
As us is not in my name, a majority men's organization, we are saying that, guys, we need to make sure that we bring an end to this. And it starts with us, because a majority of perpetrators are us men. We need to be the ones who speak to each other. We need to be the ones who confront one another. We need to be the ones that make sure that we do not hide those amongst us who perpetuate violence and misogynistic ideas amongst us.
Rape and attempted sexual offences from October to December last year declined by 3% compared to 2023 in South Africa, according to the latest crime statistics.
In India's eastern state of West Bengal, 3 people have ended up losing their lives in violent clashes in the Murshidabad district, allegedly linked to the ongoing protests against the Waqf Amendment Bill. Following the unrest that erupted on Friday, the police have arrested about 110 individuals in connection with the violence. The authorities have imposed prohibitory orders and have suspended internet services to prevent further escalation. The situation has drawn judicial attention, with the Calcutta High Court now taking cognizance and ordering the deployment of Central Armed Police Forces. A division bench led by Justice Soman Sen, and it said that cannot keep its eyes closed when such situations come up, while directing the central forces to assist the local police in restoring peace. On the social media platform X, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has appealed to people of all faiths to maintain peace and harmony in the region. She's also added that her party does not support the law and it will not be implemented in the state. Now, the Indian Parliament passed the controversial Waqf Amendment Bill earlier in the month. The BJP-led NDA government has insisted that the changes are necessary to improve the working of the Act. However, critics have objected to some of the changes that have been brought in by this bill.
Infelizmente, a gente está precisando nos defender, né, dos madeireiros, dos garimpeiros, dos negócios que rondam os nossos territórios.
Portanto, gente, não é simplesmente usar o nome.
Treba zlo više da prestane u ovoj zemlji. Treba da živimo kao sav normalan svet. Da nemamo tih podela koji su nam nametnuli. Da podržali smo decu, sad je vreme da mi idemo malo ispred dece. Nadam se da ćemo uspjeti.
Pa ova solidarnost, ova podrška jedni drugima koja se, zahvaljujući studentima, probudila među nama. Tu sam sa svojom decom, sa suprugom, nadamo se nekom boljem životu u ovoj zemlji.
I joined this adventure because I want to change something in my country. I just can't sit in my chair at my home and watch and hope that something will change, because it won't. If you sit just in one place and hope something will happen, it won't. You have to do it yourself.